Fine is a tax for being bad. Tax is a fine for being good. I will repeat it again. Fine is a tax for being bad. Tax is a fine for being good. With that, we will be starting today's discussion about taxation.
Taxes can be, divided into numerous ways.
Where does a person over 18 years of age need to obtain a tax identification number or TIN?
First, they normally have their future proposals.
Hello everyone. So I know taxes are not exactly the most exciting topic in the world, but stick around because today we are going to break it down in a way that makes sense. And also there will be no jargon, no stress, just straight up real talk about taxes. And also there is a saying, fine is a tax for being bad. Tax is a fine for being good. I will repeat it again. Fine is a tax for being bad. Tax is a fine for being good. With that, we will be starting today's discussion about taxation. I invite Mr. Binara Silva to introduce our guest speaker, Mr. Sivagurunathan.
Thank you, Ms. Chamodananda. It is a great opportunity for us to discuss the area of tax law, as it is talk of the town, and where we have seen that there have been several amendments in tax law in the last 3 weeks. And today here with us, Mr. Veerappan Sivagurunathan to discuss some essential areas of tax law. Mr. Veerappan Sivagurunathan has been in the field for more than 35 years. He was admitted as a member of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of Sri Lanka in 1991. He is the fellow member of the following institutes: Institute of Chartered Accountants of Sri Lanka, Chartered Institute of Management Accountants of United Kingdom, SIMA UK, Chartered Global Management Accountant. He also obtained Bachelor of Laws degree and he is an attorney in law as well. You're welcome, Mr. Veerappan Sivagurunathan. And Ms. Chamodi, shall we commence the discussion?
Thank you, Mr. Binara. Mr. Sivagurunathan, can you explain what is tax and why it is important to us? And also, why tax law is important to day-to-day life?
Thank you very much, Ms. Chamodi Dayananda and Mr. Binara Silva. Thank you very much for the golden opportunity. I think it is a personal pleasure, professional privilege and perpetual pride to be present here to a discussion on taxation. In Sri Lanka, the taxation was introduced in 1932. So you have to have a legal back, otherwise you can't introduce taxation. So even if you take it the current situation, the current act is the Act number 24 of 2017. And yeah, it has gone through certain amendments, but that is the basic act now we are following for income tax. So there should be a legal backup to charge taxation. Why the government charge taxation? Because that is a compulsory levy charged by the government to meet the public expenditure in countries like developing countries like us. There are other motives as well. The government want to have a capital formation. What they do is they give concession to certain industries, so all the investments may go there. So then that there is capital formation. So one is to meet the public expenditure, other one is to have a capital formation, and there is another objective also. They want to have an equitable distribution among the citizens. So that means the higher the income earners pay high tax and the low income earners pay low tax or no tax. So they are trying to build up a bridge. That is one. And sometimes the government introduces taxation to curtail consumption by having high taxes. We call it sin tax now. Means this tobacco, liquor, now it's going around 45%. So that they want to control the consumption also they can introduce. So these are the major objectives of the government to have income tax. Specifically in our countries, we normally look for to meet the public expenditure. We have a recurring expenditure like health, education, law and order, defense, we need money to spend for that. So for these purposes, government need money. So that's why the taxation is there.
Mr. Sivakarunathan, how does government impose taxes?
First, they normally have their future proposals. What is their expectation of revenue? What are the expenditure they expect? So that is the budget we call it. So that depends on the government's objective. Depending on that, they allocate the revenue into expenditures. So they bring that as a budget proposal into the parliament. So that will come in the form of bill. The bill has to be discussed, debated, deliberated at the parliament, and it will be passed. Sometimes after passing at the parliament, also in between passing the bill, you might have committee stage amendments. They find certain amendments needed, they bring it in and they again introduce into the parliament and it is passed. Once it is passed, only the government can levy taxes. So it has to be backed up by the parliament. And the day the speaker signs the bill becomes the act. From that day onwards, or the day specified in the act, will be the date from it is operated. This is the way that normally it is done.
What are the different type of taxes and how do they impact to the individuals and the businesses differently?
Taxes can be divided into numerous ways, but for understanding it is better to divide them into direct tax and indirect tax. Direct tax is the person who earns pays on his own his pays. So that is direct tax. We call it the impact and the incidence on the same person. Good example is income tax. And there is indirect tax as well. That is, the impact is one person, the incident is on another person. The good example is VAT. If a person consumes something, he pays the VAT, but it is not he is paying, it collected through an agent. So the impact is on one person, incident is on one person. So this is the way we normally divide for easy understanding. So we have two examples. For direct tax, we have income tax. For indirect tax, we have VAT, value added tax.
Where does a person over 18 years of age need to obtain a tax identification number or TIN? I will give you an example for that. Where an individual or a person who is over 18 years of age and attending school or pursuing higher education and not employed but still depending on his parents. In such situation, does that person need to obtain a TIN or tax identification number?
Good question, Mr. Binay. Everybody more than 18 years old must have a TIN. That is the law. There is no second word about it. It is like NIC. You have to have a TIN. That's a law. Because in time to come, it's going to be, the system is going to be digitalized. So then your keys, like your NIC, your TIN. So your transaction, whatever the you transaction made, is going to come to that. So everybody more than 18 years should have. But you may wonder, then whether that person, then he doesn't have an income.
Right.
Whether he has to submit a tax return. Not necessary. Because we have a fine system called self-assessment system. That is, the person who pays taxes, assess himself and pays taxes. So therefore, the person who has the TIN now knows whether he has income or not to pay the taxes. There are some thresholds. Beyond that point only, it will be taxed. So therefore, you don't have to worry about it, whether you submit the return or not. But as the law stands now, you have to have a TIN. That is a must.
Thank you, Mr. Sivagurunath. Now, Mr. Binara talked about 18 plus people. and you have given a very nice explanation about it as well. If we take the people in the other extreme, the senior citizens, they are now retired, they don't have any income and they are totally dependent on their family members. In such situation, do they also have to obtain a TIN?
I'm very happy I'm sitting a good panel. One panel is asking question from one extreme, other panel is asking question from the other extreme. Mr. Bino talked about plus 18, you are talking about plus 80. As the law stands, even they have to have a T. That is, but see, as I repeated, if they don't have any income, taxable income, they don't have to pay taxes. So better for them to have T. One thing is, you are talking about the senior citizens, because so many senior citizens are depending on deposits, deposit income, interest income. So if they are not liable for, normally if you put the money in the financial institution, they deduct taxes. Irrespective of anybody, whether you have 100 rupees or 1000 rupees, 100 billion, from 1st of April 2025, 10% is to be going to be taxed, taken away. Earlier we call it withholding tax, now we call it advance payment of tax. That will be taken. Then you wonder that person doesn't have any income or the taxable income. So he has the right to take the refund. So for that you have to have TIN. And it will speedify the refund process. So better to have a TIN, specifically senior citizens, because the Inland Revenue has concession for them to submit the return on manual or either on through internet. They have facilities, but at the same time they look after themselves by giving the refunds in quick time. So better for them as well, if they have any taxable income, or even if they are not having taxable income but the tax is already deducted, better for them to get the refund, they have to have TIN. So plus 18 or plus 80, both in my opinion, better to have TIN.
The people have to meet their day-to-day expenses. Do you mean to say that each rupee they earn, they have to pay taxes?
See, a person has to live, right?
Yes.
He has to meet the cost of living. So there is a threshold. Beyond that, only you have to pay taxes. For income tax, we are talking about income tax. For income tax, now it's if you're earning more than 150,000, only you will be taxed. 150,000 per month, or if you take for the year, it must be 1.8 million, 115 to 12. So if you are given beyond that point, only you have to pay taxes. And that taxes also, there are slabs. You don't have to pay your full amount, 100% is not taxed. Right? There are slabs. So if you say 1.8 million is given as a cost of living. So when you go to the next slab, after earning 1.8 million, next 1 million is taxed at only 6%. Then you have slabs. Next 500,000, accordingly now you will be taxed at 18%. Earlier we had 12%,
right.
Now 12% has taken to the 6%, so 18%. And it goes in the 6% slab. 18%, 24, 30, 36. It stops at 36. So therefore, you don't have to pay all your money to as taxes. This concession is given. And the slab is also very liberal. If you are a middle income earner, you will be paying a minute amount. So there is a tax, but not all your money is not taken as a tax. That concession is there.
Thank you, Mr. Sivagurunathan. What are the sources of income on which the income tax is levied?
Right. According to Act, we have 4 sources of income. Right? Earlier we had 13 or 14. Now for the current Act, they have taken into 4 categories. First one is employment. Second one is business. Third one is investment. Fourth one is if anything that does not fall under all 3, employment, income, investment, it will be taken as other income will be taxed. So these are the 4 sources. So employment, you don't have to worry about it. If your salary is more than 150,000, your employer will deduct your taxes and pay to the department. That is, if you are employed. And if you are doing a business, Right? Assume that our professions are treated as business. So, at law likes you, or you have to pay, you will be your earnings will come under the business income. The beauty of business income is you can deduct expenses related to your income. The law says expenses incurred in the production of income. Suppose at an at loss, you will be having assistants. Right? So those the payment to them can be deducted because that is spent to earn the income. So business income you pay on the residue, on the net amount. Likewise, employment you have to pay taxes on the gross. For example, employment you take, your EPF will be deducted. We assume 8%, you will be getting a net amount after deducting the 8%. But for tax purposes, you have to gross it up. Employment income, you take the gross amount. Business, you take the net amount. There are certain expenses that are allowed, certain are disallowed. So accordingly, you have to pay taxes. That is business. You come to the investment. What do you mean by investment? Investment means you set aside some money in the hope of getting a return. You are just a passive onlooker. You don't do anything. Not like business or employment, you are doing something. Here you don't do. You just put the money and pay. For example, bank. You go and have a fixed deposit or savings. Bank does everything and earn the money and pay it. So you are a passive investor. Likewise, you are investing in a company. When you invest in a company, what is your return? A dividend. When they pay a dividend, they deduct the return. So you will get the net amount. So like that, investment is also separate source of income, and that is also taxed. Within certain limits, there are certain concessions given. Beyond that, it will be taxed. For senior citizens, all those things are there. We'll discuss that in time to come. I don't want to go elaborate because you said there need not be technical jargon. So I avoid that. I just explain to a layman. So next one is the other income. Employment, business, investment. If any income does not fall under that, it will come under the other income. So these are the four sources specifically designed for you to calculate your taxes and pay.
Right, Mr. Shivagurunathan. Actually, this question was asked by one of my friends. So I thought I would ask it today. This person has left the country for employment, right? And he was out of the country for 2 years. In such situation, does that person need to pay tax on his income?
You are talking about with the employment income earn there, right?
Yes, yes.
Now, we assume that person has left the country.
Right.
Is no longer there for 2 years. Then we call in our terms, he is a non-resident. He may be a citizen, but he is a non-resident. The residency is related to the number of days you are staying in the country. If you are staying in the country for 183 days or more, you are considered a resident. So if you become a resident, what happens is, your world income is taxed. If you get any other income from elsewhere, that will be taxed in Sri Lanka because you are a resident. Now, in your case, your friend has left the country and is out of the country for 2 years. Then he becomes non-resident. So, he has to pay taxes on the income earned in Sri Lanka. We call it sourced in Sri Lanka.
Right.
Suppose he might have rented in his house and he might be getting a rental income here. On that he has to pay taxes.
Right.
Because though he is outside the Sri Lanka, he is here. Sorry, his income is sourced here. So that has to be taxed. He might be having bank deposits.
Right.
Right? He must be getting interest on that. For that he has to pay. But not on the employment income he earned there. And if he remits that employment, it will be not taxed. Because there is a talk going in the town, even if you are employed elsewhere, if you are sending money, that has to be taxed. That's wrong. Completely wrong. People have misinterpreted it. I have a support for me in the section 73. Section 73 subsection 1 says, for the employment income to be taxed, it has to be sourced in Sri Lanka. They have given an example. If you say, you see a person who is working in ship, Sri Lankan ship, right? But he is going out of the country always. But the employment is sourced in Sri Lanka, so he will be taxed. Sri Lankan pilots, airline pilots, right? So their income is because income source in Sri Lanka. Even the payment can be made elsewhere, right? As long as the employment is made here. So in your case, in your friend's case, right? Here it doesn't have to pay employment income earned there. Even if he remitted here, I'm 100% that I can defend him if any cases come, right? Because the section 73 is specifically provided, not to worry about it. People are worrying, even if people are going abroad, whether when they earn they have to pay taxes. No, because section 73, no one looked at it. Hope I have answered your friend's question, not your question.
I will definitely inform him. Thank you very much, Mr. Sivagununathan.
Thank you, Mr. Sivagununathan. With that, we are going to wrap up for today's dive into taxes. Thank you so much for hanging with us. If you found this helpful, don't forget to join with us in the next episode. And also, if there is a topic related to the taxation that you are dying to know, drop it as a comment. We are ready to tackle your most awaited question in taxation in our next episode. Thank you so much and have a nice day.